If a medieval knight charged a Persian cataphract, who would actually survive the impact? You've seen the movies. You know the medieval knight, the shining armor, the chivalry, the unstoppable charge. You probably think they are the ultimate heavy cavalry of history. But what if I told you they were actually the cheap copy? A full 1,000 years before the first knight put on a helmet, the Persian Empire had already created a human tank that was bigger, heavier, and scarier than anything Europe would see for centuries. They were called the Cataphracts. And if these two titans actually met on the battlefield, the result would get messy, fast. So let's set the stage. In the red corner, we have the medieval knight from around the 13th century. Chainmail, maybe some early plate armor, a big wooden lance, and a bad attitude. In the blue corner, we have the Sasanian Persian Cataphract from the 4th century. And here is the first massive difference that shocks everyone. You look at a knight, and his horse is usually wearing nothing, maybe a cloth covering. But look at the cataphract. The horse is fully armored. From nose to tail, the animal is covered in shimmering metal scales. The Persians figured out something the Europeans forgot for a long time. If you kill the horse, the knight is just a slow guy in a metal can. Let's talk about the armor, because this is where the contrast gets really interesting. The medieval knight relies heavily on chainmail, thousands of interlinked rings. It's great for stopping a sword slice, but it's terrible against a heavy impact. If I hit you with a hammer while you're wearing chainmail, the rings might not break, but your ribs definitely will. Now look at the Persian cataphract. He's not wearing rings, he's wearing scales. Overlapping plates of iron or bronze, sewn onto thick leather. It looks like a dragon's skin. This is designed to deflect arrows and absorb massive blunt force. It's stiff, it's heavy, and it makes him look like a metal statue. But here is the crazy part. The Persian cataphract didn't just have armor on his chest. He had a metal mask, a literal face of iron with a human face sculpted into it. Imagine seeing that charging at you through the dust. No eyes, no mouth, just a frozen, golden metal stare. It's psychological warfare at its finest. Now, the weapons. This is where the fight gets brutal. The medieval knight carries a lance. It's long, it's heavy, and it's couched under the armpit to deliver the full weight of the horse into a single point. It's a devastating weapon. One hit, and you are done. But the Persian cataphract? He laughs at your lance. He uses the Kontos. This isn't just a spear. It's a 12-foot-long pole made of iron-hard wood, sometimes tipped with metal on both ends. And here is the difference. He doesn't couch it under his arm. He holds it with 2 hands across the horse's neck. Why? Because the cataphract isn't just trying to poke you, he's trying to skewer you and your horse at the same time. The Roman general Plutarch actually wrote about this. He described battles where Persian cataphracts would drive their Kontos through 2 men at once. That is the level of power we are talking about. But wait, we need to talk about the mount, the engine of the tank. This is the secret weapon nobody talks about. The Nisean horse. Medieval knights rode destriers. Strong horses, sure. But the Persians bred the Nisean specifically for war. These things were monsters. They were extinct now, but ancient descriptions say they were massive, with thick bones, capable of carrying a fully armored rider and their own full suit of scale armor. We are talking about a combined weight of maybe 1,000 pounds of man and metal crashing into you at 30 miles per hour. So, let's run the simulation. The knight versus the cataphract. They spot each other across the field. They couch their weapons. They kick their spurs. The medieval knight has the advantage in stirrups. This is huge. Stirrups let the knight stand up in the saddle and brace for impact. The Persian Cataphract, he's riding with a four-horned saddle. It grips his thighs so he doesn't fly off, but it's not as stable as stirrups. They collide. The sound would be deafening. Metal screaming against metal.
The knight's lance
Hits the cataphract's scale armor. The scales shatter. The impact is massive. The Persian is rocked back in his saddle. If his thigh grip fails, he goes flying, and the fight is over. But watch the Persian's Kontos. He's not aiming for the knight's shield. He's aiming for the horse. The knight's horse is unarmored. The Kontos slams into the destrier's chest. The horse goes down instantly. The knight is thrown into the dirt, winded, trapped under his own beast. Now the fight is on the ground. The knight pulls out his arming sword. It's sharp, agile, double-edged. He's fast. He's trained for this. The cataphract? He drops the broken lance and pulls out a mace. A heavy, iron mace. He doesn't care about finesse. He doesn't care about parrying. He just starts swinging. Remember, the knight is wearing chainmail. That mace is the worst nightmare for chainmail. Every hit breaks bones. The Persian armor, those overlapping scales, are much better at deflecting the knight's sword cuts. The sword just glances off the dragon's scales. But here is the twist. The knight has one massive advantage we haven't mentioned. Steel quality. The medieval knight comes from an era of better metallurgy. His sword is tempered steel. It's flexible. It holds an edge. The Persian cataphract is using iron or lower quality steel. In a prolonged fight, the Persian's weapons might bend. His scales might crack. So, who wins? If it's the early medieval period, my money is on the Persian cataphract. The full horse armor and the anti-cavalry tactics are just too much for the early knights to handle. The Persians were fighting the Roman legions, the greatest infantry in history, and winning. A single knight wouldn't scare them. But if we are talking late medieval, like 15th century, then the knight wins. Why? Because eventually the Europeans copied the Persians. They started armoring their horses. They developed plate armor that was better than scales. They basically became cataphracts 2.0. And that's the irony of history. We look at the medieval knight as this uniquely European hero. But when you look at the armor, the heavy lance, the war horse, you're looking at a legacy that started in the deserts of Iran 1,000 years earlier. The knight is just a cataphract with a better PR team. But I want to know what you think. If you had to pick one set of armor to wear into a fight to the death, the flexible chainmail of the knight or the solid dragon scales of the cataphract, which one are you trusting with your life? Drop a comment below. I actually want to see the debate.